All right.
Okay. All right, so this is our first case study with our group, Jessica, Felicia, Rosalind, and James. So does anyone, I don't have the questions in front of
I
me.
do.
I do. Yeah.
I
So,
have to add them in. So what was the first actual question?
so the first question says, what do you think of the way James handled this particular situation, considering his limited background?
Okay. I stated that, okay, I used I. We got to go back and change it if you use I to candidate.
Okay.
But I kind of said that I would probably handle it in a similar situation because I'm not very familiar with reading content and assessments and teaching it and all that stuff. So I said I probably would have handled it the same way and gotten input, but I would have met with a reading coordinator and the reading coach first before meeting with the teachers. And I said he should definitely attend any reading conferences or professional developments that the district reading coordinator believes would be beneficial to him.
Okay. I agree. And then I also put that I think he was professional and effectively became the instructional leader for the school. I put that it was funny because he knew his weaknesses and he wasn't afraid to seek help versus a lot of people coming into those positions. They know their weaknesses, but they don't want to seem gullible. So they still want that power strike, and they don't take time to get the buy-in to help fulfill that opportunity for growth. So I put that he was able to seek help and collaborate with community, the school community, to successfully meet the goal. I put he was able to articulate a shared mission and vision, but he still set boundaries and expectations. He gained buy-in from the school community and district stakeholders. He was ethical, transparent, and open to learning best practices in an effort to meet the academic needs of the school.
Now, I felt like I went a different direction. I thought that what he did wasn't bad, but I thought what he could have done first was meet with, I said, definitely the different grade level chairs,
Right.
as well as any other interventionists they already had in the building. I said that way he could have found out exactly what the specific issues were with the reading, and then come up with a plan, and then present that plan and get feedback from the entire all the other staff members.
Right.
So that way he would have went in a little bit more educated, because it's easy to say that reading is an issue, but if he doesn't know what's causing the main reading issues,
Right.
I thought he would have met with a smaller group first, so they gave him a little bit more information.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry with you, James. I felt like he should have formed a PLC based on what we've learned in task 1, because if reading was an issue or area of need, he needed to find the most pressing need,
Right.
and the grade level that actually had the problem, because it could have been a problem that was not across the board.
Right.
So if he would have formed a PLC and evaluated the data, went through everything, then he could have
known what to look for.
Yeah, gather some more information, and then he would have come more competent of how to view the data, where he needed to start, and then get everybody else on test. I feel good that he had the confidence to let them know, and that he was transparent. I know I put that in there too, that it was a plus for him being transparent and letting them know that I need your help.
Right.
And using his resources, knowing where to go to gather this information, knowing who to talk to. But I feel like he should not have just taken the word of the superintendent to say that this is what's going on. If he would have formed that, then he could have maybe had an action plan just for a grade level.
Right. And I put that originally. I put he needed an action plan. He needed to analyze data first to know what he was really looking for. But then for my thing, when I read too much in between, it said that the school had these challenges for a while. So I took it as, if you're if this is a major problem that you've had through several principals, as it seemed like, then I really wasn't sure if the school itself really knew where to start. Does that make sense? Like, because I was just thinking about, okay, so you've had former principals that wasn't able to make growth within the school, and then it said that the same teachers had been there for years. So if that's the problem, does anybody really know where to start? Because you shouldn't still have consistently the same thing if you really know what to do. Does that make sense?
It does. Mm-hmm.
So that was my concern.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could have read through it. I think a lot of
different ways. Yeah.
I was thinking, he didn't want to seem weak.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what I was thinking. Even I know he knew all of the people, but because he knew them, I think he would have wanted to go in a little bit strong.
Right.
That's what I thought. Maybe going in with a little bit more information to put him in a
better predicament. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I had a question. It might have been kind of off, but for the superintendent to come to him with that, where's the support for the school in the first place? Like, where's the district support, and why hasn't it been in that school? But I think it would have also been effective for us to know what the school was. So is this an elementary school? Is this a middle school? Or high school? Because you're going to have to approach all three of those in a different aspect depending on what kind of school it is.
Right.
Well,
So,
they said that they had a district reading coordinator.
right.
And maybe he could have. I mean, I guess he went to the reading coach at the school.
Mm.
But the district reading coordinator, I guess, maybe should have been the one. Like, I guess that's what you're saying, to provide the data. And then with him knowing that he didn't specialize in that, maybe he should have put them together.
Right.
And say, hey, come over here and talk to the reading coordinator and let her explain what's going on.
Right.
I mean, maybe someone had already formed a PLC, but it wasn't presented to him in that manner.
Nope.
It should have been a different presentation, even coming from the superintendent.
And back with data. Like, okay, so this is your reading data of the school, and it needs to be improved. Versus, it was very broad.
My answer for number 2, like I said, I didn't write them down, but had to do, what was the question? Do you have?
Number 2 is what more could have been done to help the reading scores at this school?
Yeah, so mine had to do with, like, the data meetings. Because, like, my school, for instance, every Monday they're supposed to be having data meetings and they talk about assessments. They don't do it.
Right.
So, like, they're not being held accountable for that. So I think, like, monthly data meetings at least, led by the reading coach and the school or the district one. And then they could set up interventions for the struggling students. And then I put the PLC, like y'all had said, could meet weekly to discuss the reading strategies and programs that they use in the school and develop his action plan, outlining the dates. Because, like I said, I thought he should have talked to them first.
Right.
Before, I guess maybe he needed to get the data from all the grade levels, which doesn't require all the teachers, but they might be the only ones that have the data. But, let's see. Oh, and then I said research reading programs that other schools and maybe adopt to, fit their need.
Right, and that's what I said to other schools. I said, well, why did he not check with other districts and other schools to see if any of those other schools in that same area are having those same issues and find out what schools maybe had programs that were working. Look at that, because it's basically, it should be a community. We're all working together to make sure that we're successful.
Right. For that one, I put that he should begin with a PLC. I put that, and then using pre and post assessments to analyze student needs for targeted interventions to be able to find out what works for the most pressing need. I put during the PLC meetings, he should focus on priority standards and maybe vertical planning across the grade levels to close whatever gaps they find. And then I put that he should implement professional development for maybe balanced literacy for core teachers, because we don't know what grade level it is, or see what schools could provide him information on, like push-in services to offer that extra layer of support for the research-based interventions and lessons in the classrooms. And I put teachers should be analyzing assessments and creating action plans and progress monitoring goals with fidelity. Just building it around data.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I had some of the same. I don't have everything pulled up, but I did address the reading intervention and the pullouts. After the PLC had been formed and we found out where the pressing need was, that we would target them with individualized instruction, provided reading intervention programs, practices, whatever the best practice would be for that, based on information that you did gather from another school.
Right.
That is more like yours. You know, just going across the county lines, it may not be the county, maybe counties, but going across the line to see what other schools are like yours that are having those problems and what has been effective for them could possibly help you where you are. But the pullouts was a big thing for me, because still yet, even if it is third grade, you know, once you analyze and say, okay, well, after we did our test, like you were saying with the pre and post, after we did our test, we see that in the lower quartile, these are the students that are struggling, you know, versus, because it's not going to be everyone in third grade, and then we're going to pull them out, work with them. So if he had some data, and based on what I'm seeing, he didn't really have.
No, he just went by the word of whatever they said.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. That's true. Question 3 said, what additional resources could James utilize to help the school improve? For that, I put he could benefit from having the MTSS. I don't know if y'all use that, but the multi-tier level of support to provide supplemental and intensive support for students. He could also utilize a structured discipline system such as PBIS to help offset the rowdy and undisciplined students in the classrooms, hallways, and other common areas. I put he could implement monthly data meetings to meet with the teachers, check student programs, and provide teachers with different strategies to use in the classroom. The schools could also benefit from offering parent curriculum meetings quarterly to provide parents with curriculum information that they can use at home to help build a bridge. And then I put just reallocating and involving his SIT team in the processes needed to help improve the school.
Okay. I said try to find, because we don't know if the school district has a lot of money to help solve this problem. So I said use reading educational software such as iReady, Epic, Reading Naturally. Make reading the focus for all subjects, across the board. That every subject, even specials teams, are working with some form of literacy and reading in everything that they do. Even science, we're going to make sure the kids are reading aloud, looking up words. Anything we can do to let literacy be that main objective.
Right.
And then I even said something like having, which we do at our school, having a literacy night, where you invite the community, the parents to come in. You have different people in reading, different things about literacy that will also motivate the parents to kind of let them know that we're really taking this seriously.
Right.
That was one of my things too, James. I had a literacy night, but I guess just getting everyone on board is going to be his best form of resource. That's going to be the best thing that he could possibly do. It's sort of like bridging the gap from the inside out. Once you get the teachers on board and you already have the PLC form, then trying to get everybody from the community on board. You know, even if you had someone from the community to come in and read to the students.
Right.
I saw someone one time, like the principal was doing something. I don't recall where it was, but she gets on YouTube. And every night she reads. Y'all saw that?
Yeah, I seen that. And it's another principal that does like Facebook Live where she reads to the kids.
Yeah, that's it. And she'll start this story and she'll read to them, and then the students are like, "Oh, we get to log in and we can see you on, you know, on YouTube or Facebook, whatever she's doing," and then they have that interest. So I think that the best resources that we can use are us and the community, instead of just putting them in front of a computer all the time saying, "Hey, let's see what you can do on ReadWorks," which ReadWorks is an awesome program, but using the resources, using us as resources, the community members as resources, so that we can work from the inside out. I think that would be a plus.
And the one thing that bothers me about using technology as a resource is you have all these studies out here that say kids should be spending less amount of time on technology. Kids shouldn't be sitting in front of a screen. But then you get them in school and they're on technology just as much as they are on technology at home. So they need a book in hand. Kids need a book in hand, turning the pages, not necessarily just lazily listen to someone read. And I think it's a good incentive for like that home life, for that building that bridge. But at school, I feel like they need books in their hands.
Oh yeah,
they do.
Yeah.
I like to read a book. But anyway, so for my question 3 was kind of like all of yours combined. I said, since he was a related arts teacher at the beginning, or whatever they call them, specials, he could get the related arts teachers to integrate reading into their classroom. It could help students that have difficulty learning in the traditional classroom setting, and he could also set up meaningful professional development for the reading teachers. And then I said the parent meeting with incentives that could utilize, so the parents could learn strategies and could reinforce things at home. And I also said getting the community involved, like having police officers or fire chiefs or the mayor or somebody from the superintendent to come in and to read to them, so they could see different people that they see in the community coming into their classroom.
Right. I agree with that. That's kind of like that Read Across America thing. And then I think I put, that was in question 2, but I put also implementing like a DEAR, drop everything and read incentive for kids, so that at a certain time in the day, you know, the kids read and they get certain points or whatever for ice cream party or pizza party or time with the principal or whatever, to encourage that reading, book studies for the kids, you know, stuff like that.
Because they used to do that at our schools in the morning. Oh, y'all, excuse me. They would do that at our schools in the morning, where it was a time in the morning where everything was like drop everything and read. Right. And they turn on like some little music or, you know, whatever, and sort of set the and all students would have to read. You know, you couldn't leave out of class, you couldn't do anything, you just had to read for that specific amount of time. And during the time, I remember that the scores seemed like they got better, you know, and they were engaged. So I think that's a plus to have something like that where they know, hey, this is what's happening, and having that as a routine that every morning I know I'm going to be reading at 8 o'clock. Right. Because routines work.
Yeah. Expectations, you know. Yeah.
And what about question number 4?
So question 4 says, what could be done? What could he be sacrificing, if anything, by placing an extraordinary emphasis only on the reading program?
He could be sacrificing.
I had said that I thought it would be, you know, I thought that if you place the emphasis on reading, but still work with those other subjects, like we were saying about, you know, reading even in science, reading in math, and those kind of things, that you're still building those layers. But I feel if you just work on reading, then you probably will be, you're going to see a decline in the test scores in math and science. think you have to continue working those other subjects, but simply placing more emphasis on the reading.
Right.
And just incorporate reading, like you were saying earlier, into those subjects, so that they know that when they come to math, because I teach math, and when they come there, you know, sometimes I go back and I'm sorry, something's messing up on my computer. Can y'all still see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Okay, but that I can go back and say that okay.
Now we can't.
Oh goodness, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm gonna keep talking until it comes back.
Okay.
But anyway, that we can go. I go back and I would emphasize some things and that I know they're doing in ELA, and I'll say, okay, you know, based on what you were doing in ELA, if we're reading, you know, we read from left to right. So in math, that's what you do. You read from left to right. Or, you know, when we go to word problems, you know, when we're doing word problems, you have to do this, or even science or social studies, whatever. You know, I'm working on coordinate grids. Okay, I can, you know, put that back with social studies. So anytime you can integrate anything into what you're doing is a plus. So integrating reading, into those subjects, it makes it relevant,
right.
And it makes it feel like, okay, this is something that I'm going to have to do. It doesn't matter where I go,
right?
But just drop and putting the emphasis totally on reading. It means that you're sort of saying to them that reading is more important than math.
Right.
Or reading is more important than another content area. So I think that he would be sacrificing the validity of if I'm saying it right, of other content by just focusing on one.
Right. I agree. And that's what I put. One of the biggest things is, again, going back to, depending on what kind of setting it is, you definitely don't want to do that, because if it's high school, then what about those career technical classes? If you're only focusing on reading, then what happens to students who are never really strong in reading? Like, what other area am I able to shine in? And I put that he would see a decrease in other places. I also put he may see a decrease in teacher morale or effort for other content areas. Because if you're only focusing on these teachers that's teaching reading, then what about me? What kind of professional development are you still providing for me to be able to teach my content area effectively? And it said that he did not have misbehaved students in gym, but if reading is not a child's strong suit and you're only focusing on reading, then you're going to start seeing those behaviors and discipline concerns for teachers in other grade levels, or not grade levels, but in other content areas. I don't know. I think reading is fundamental, and I think it needs to be put, a balanced literacy program should be put in every content area, but I don't think that should be the only focus of a school.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of said the same thing because I said, you know, the other test scores might suffer decline, and then I also talked about the discipline and climate of the school, because it said that there was, you know, discipline problems at the school, but not in his class. So I thought then, okay, well, he already has a rapport with the students, so he could go ahead and enforce that, like, okay, I know y'all know how to behave. We're going to do this all through school the whole time you're here. So I think that needed to be the second focus for that year or whatever. Then if you improve the behavior, your reading scores might go up because you have less classroom disruptions.
Yep, and they can focus.
And then they're not pulled out of class for being, you know, in trouble and everything. So.
And what we do know from research is a lot of times you have those behavior issues because
they can't. Yep.
Right, you know, and because they can't do it, you know, it causes the distraction because they want to take the light off of them. You know, I can't read. You know, I can't comprehend this. I don't understand. So now I have to do something else so that they think, you know, so that they don't know that I can't read.
Right, so I agree.
The behavior issues that they're having is stemming from students not being able to read.
Right.
So if you were pulling them out, as we said before, and working with them and putting emphasis where it needs to be, you know, and I think that would work too. So I think he would be sacrificing a lot if he just totally put the emphasis on reading, not just with teachers,
right.
but with students also, because the students see, well, you're coming to pull him out because he can't read, but what about me? I don't know my math.
Right.
So I'm not going to pull just one student out. I'm going to pull some more students out based on tests that we have in math.
Right.
So if they see that, you know, we're incorporating it and every content area is important, you know, then it wouldn't be such a sacrifice.
True. True.
Yeah.
We actually experienced that this week because I had talked to my son's teacher and the psychologist because his teachers had issues about ADD and ADHD. Teaching school, I know kids that have ADD and ADHD. He does not. He is like half a year behind in reading, and I tried to explain to him, I'm like, so if he can't read it and he can't do it, he's gonna sit there and daydream. What do you expect him to sit there and do? He doesn't get in trouble, but he's not focused because he can't do it. So I finally got them to agree to do testing and things like that and assessing. But she was like, no, just go to the doctor. I was like, no, because ADD and ADHD is overdiagnosed.
Yes.
And I want medicine to be the last form. Like, can you please just... So finally, after she pulled up his assessments and saw that he was getting extra interventions and he was still scoring low on the assessments, she was like, oh, okay, then yeah. I was like, why does it take an act? I'm a concerned parent. I'm not a parent. It's like, I don't want a stigmatism to my child. Like, I want my child to be successful. Please, like, set this up. It was like pulling teeth to get it set up.
Yeah.
But, yeah, well, I think we learned a lot from each other. We all had kind of the same.
I agree.
Yeah.
Answers, but
one of the things I hadn't even thought of. So that was
and I think it was a realistic case study because we see that. Well, I know I see that in my district happen all the time. We just had a principal. She was a technology teacher, never had an admin background. Went to school for her admin licensure, and how can I say it the nice way? Brown-nosed her way to a principal position with no admin experience. And she is at one of the worst schools in the district. And so now it's like all this emphasis is, oh, we got to help this school. We got to help this. That's not fair. What about all these other schools that are struggling that's been asking for help? But because this is your favorite person over here, now, I mean, she has so much support pouring into one school. And you haven't done anything for the other schools that have people that are really making progress but still need a little extra support. So, I mean, it's realistic. We see it happen, you know, all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
It is realistic. So, I don't know. I guess with our moving forward with the reflection, our reflection is based on Zoom.
Right.
Am I correct?
Yeah, your Zoom.
So,
well, one paragraph is on your case, like a summarize of your answers, right? And then the other paragraph is
summarizing of Zoom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that would be our summary because we are all on the same page.
Yeah.
You know, it is like you said. It's realistic. I mean, it happens. It's real life. So,
and I definitely think doing the APSO prepare us to be able to talk about this. Because we had the background information of what steps you need to take to move your school along. And I don't think, had we had that, we wouldn't have been able to effectively talk about, you know, this person. One interesting fact I wanted to share with y'all, I talked to my principal about it. It was funny because she was, you know, I always try to go to her anytime I'm doing stuff. You are an expert and you my mentor, so I wanted to check with her over it. And one thing she said that, you know, what he's doing is the job of a true instructional leader. And she was like, if principals could just focus on those things, their schools would be successful. But the sad part of reality is instruction becomes one of the least things that you can kind of just stop and focus on because you have so many other wheels turning with stuff that they want principals to do, that it becomes, the sad reality is in Title I schools that focus on instruction becomes second when it should really be first.
Wow.
I know I had, and I wanted to see what I had on my thing because I had something in there about being an instructional leader.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't recall what I put about the systems thinker, about him being a systems thinker.
Right.
Yeah, because he used his resources, and when he was transparent going in, he didn't just say, he didn't go in like, I'm going to do this all myself.
Right.
Or this is what you're going to do. He didn't go in as a dictator.
He made it more of a community effort. Talking, giving everyone's input. This is what we need to do.
Right.
Yeah. So I know I put that in there someplace. I don't have it pulled up, but yeah, it was. He had a very good way of going in that really formed collaboration, because as soon as he went in, and with him already having a rapport with them,
right,
and asking them, how do you want me to handle this, letting them know that I'm going to have to handle it.
Right.
So, but let me figure y'all out and see how everyone was thinking about, if I have an issue with you, how am I going to handle that issue with you?
Right.
He was very professional, and I think it took me back to when we were talking about emotional intelligence, and not being able to handle everyone the same way in the same manner.
That's right.
He really addressed those things, and not being a principal and just coming in from being a PE teacher, even though he had some background, on it. I think he really came in as a strong, leave that alone. I think he really came in as a strong instructional leader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I think he wasn't intimidated. So most people would maybe be intimidated by somebody coming to you saying, now, these are your friends. How you going to handle this? Most people would have shied away and just been like, I'm not going to take this position because of that. So I think that was a good thing, because, you never know where you're going to get placed. And so you got to be able to talk, handle those kind of situations. Yeah.
This is really good work, and really a lot to think about.
It is.
It is.
It's eye-opening.
Well, I'll be calling all y'all when I have a question about stuff.
Okay.
All righty.
That's it.
All right. Good session.
Have a good night.
All right. I'll send this to you guys.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.